everybody, welcome to the Fandom Post Radio Podcast. I am your host, Kate, and joining me this week is Kestrel.
I think we need to do a take 3.
No, we're gonna go with this. And Kane.
Hello.
And DJ.
Hey!
And we are here to talk about anime, and not the Maury Povich show.
Yeah, by the way, we didn't do an entire episode, people. We just did 5 minutes of talking about Maury.
Which is not enough, but I digress.
Maury episodes next week.
We should put that up.
we have to do anime this time, unfortunately. We're all here for Maury, though.
Subscribe to our Patreon for our website, and I will send you the Maury Povich file.
Excellent. So, it seems like it's a news week this week. There's lots of that.
It's been well over a month since the last time we had one of these episodes, so there's plenty of news to discuss.
Excellent. I'm excited. I didn't read any of it, so this is all fresh.
Yeah, we get Kane's live reactions.
Ugh.
And we were discussing earlier the ratio of good to bad. It's pretty much all good. Like, it ranges from good to extremely good, and one or two, whatever. So, do we want to get right into that?
Yeah, we might as well.
All right, so 3 weeks ago now, this was Labor Day weekend? Yeah. There was the virtual Crunchyroll Expo, and I spent another 3 days of my life watching that nonstop, to similarly limited success. Not a lot is going on in these virtual conventions. But anyway, there were a couple pieces of news from that were worth taking away. So the first of them from Crunchyroll. A few years ago now, that Funimation partnership ended, and we were like, who's going to take their place? And, Sentai was in the best position to do so. They're the most similar to Funimation in terms of what they release, how they release it, and everything. And then, High Dive, which is technically unaffiliated with Sentai Filmworks, took Funimation's spot in Verve, which is, run by Crunchyroll. So I thought for sure that Sentai would take their place for home video distribution. But then they announced that the partnership was going to be with Viz, which was a little bit concerning because Viz is not very good at releasing anime. They like to license things, and then 2 years later release the first volume, and then a year later release the second volume, which is not what we want from Crunchyroll licenses, because they license a ton of shit, and you want it quickly, and Funimation is very good at that. So then Viz never actually released a single Crunchyroll title. Instead, it went back to Discotek, who had done some before the Funimation days. And, they're great in a lot of ways, which we'll get to later. But, they're particularly good for, older, rarer stuff. For brand new stuff where you got all the materials and it's easy to just throw it out, it's all digital. We don't necessarily need Discotek. And they don't do limited editions. They do all, standard releases, which is not as exciting as a lot of the limited editions that Funimation was doing. So now we finally come full circle to Crunchyroll announcing their partnership with Sentai to do home video releases. They've done a few in the past with sub-licenses for sequels to Sentai shows. They got full rights to a few of the later seasons of Haikyuu, Food Wars, the Fate Lolly show. And so, Funimation, or Crunchyroll had eventually allowed Sentai to release that under, their brand with the same kind of releases that they did for the prior seasons. So that will continue for some of those titles, as well as some new Crunchyroll licenses that Sentai was otherwise unaffiliated with. So yeah, that's good news all around. Hopefully it means that all Sentai simulcasts will go back to being on Crunchyroll in addition to High Dive, because it's nice to not have to have High Dive. But yeah, that is good news in that regard. And also the partnerships are continuing on Funimation's side, where they've been streaming more Viz shows for the past several months. So a lot of weird partnerships going on.
Sentai can make a nice collector's edition.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. Did they... Sentai, did the cool Food Wars ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because those are cool. I mean, I don't own them because they're insanely expensive, but they always looked really cool and creative with what you got,
Yeah.
which is at least always exciting to look at and then dream about owning.
Yeah,
I
I'd
feel
say.
like sorry, you go.
I was just gonna say, I'd say Sentai has more creative limited editions, whereas like Funimation and Aniplex have more of like, this is the kind of stuff that an anime collector wants. It's kind of standard stuff, but it's nice. Sentai kind of gets more creative with it, and I guess Right Stuff with like in their Gundam boxes.
I feel like the Sentai like limited editions go on sale more frequently too. Like when they're not all bought up. Like
Yeah.
I don't often see you never see the Aniplex ones go on sale.
No,
Yeah.
hell no.
Aniplex is very
yeah.
controlled pricing, whereas the Sentai limited editions, if they don't sell out in a year or two, then they're gonna have some insane annual sale on their website
Yeah, like
where they're like $5.
I remember seeing the new game or the No Game No Life one off like 90% off or some
Yep.
shit like that at one point. And I was like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, that happens with Sentai limited editions all the time if they don't sell out.
Yeah, I think I got Nozaki-kun for like $20.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a pretty nice set. It's not like blowing your lid, but it's nice.
That's kind of one of their more like what I'd expect from a Funimation or Aniplex, where you've got your nice high quality chipboard box, a book with a bunch of content from like the Japanese release, soundtrack CDs, and what else is in there? It's a bunch of the standard stuff, but it's like this is the kind of stuff that I want in a collector's edition. Like I like my big old Food Wars bento boxes, but I don't buy my anime releases for aprons and chopsticks.
Good point.
I think that CD from Nozaki-kun may be the only CD I've purchased in the past decade.
That's funny. I just got 3 CDs today.
And I've never played it either. I actually haven't really done much with the collector's stuff.
That's the only thing I've done is rip the CD and put it into my shuffle playlist.
Nice.
And I got it signed, I guess. Yeah.
Knows. Yeah, I don't think Aniplex knows like the word sale. Like that's just not in the dictionary.
You'll get like maybe one Right Stuff holiday sale if some Aniplex release has been around for a few years and hasn't sold out. That's like the one time a year where you can get a little bit more off, and then it'll just be like MSRP for any other company.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, that's it's a pretty exciting partnership. So I'll look forward to the releases and the pricing and things like that. Yeah, I think Sentai is a pretty good road because I don't really know a whole lot about. I know Discotek has always done old stuff,
and like they're fine with doing new stuff. They just don't do collector's editions.
Yeah, which doesn't affect me a whole lot, but I could definitely see why that would be a problem for. Yeah, like people like you, Kestrel, or other folks that really like those nicer boxes and stuff.
Yeah. Sentai is definitely the most similar to Funimation, so it's definitely a good pick. Hopefully, nothing changes about how they do their super sales, because that's a good point I hadn't even thought of, is that a lot of this stuff you'll be able to get a nice box set for a ridiculously cheap price a few years down the line.
Yeah, I used to think those sales were rare, and they're not.
Yeah. They have
like one every 2 months.
Yeah, they're crazy.
They have 2 or 3 every year that are like, here's everything that we've ever released for like 75% off. And then they have a few others scattered throughout that are pretty good as well.
Yeah, I've gotten a lot of some of my favorite stuff that way. I think I got I may have gotten Kino's Journey on DVD from them in a sale once for like $2.99.
Now
like, ridiculous.
You get that High School of the Dead OVA yet?
No, I'm waiting until they pay me. I'm waiting until it says like a negative dollar amount in the shopping cart.
Yep.
Then maybe.
And remember, on every one of their sales, you can see Legend of the Galactic Heroes discounted from $7.99.99 to $7.99.99.
I think one time I saw it $7.99.98.
Oh, maybe that's what it is. I was actually going to say that. Either way, you always save exactly 0 cents. But it's always on sale.
Yeah, I do troll those every time for sets like that, because you could definitely get some gems, that's for sure.
Yeah.
What's next?
Next up is the other piece of news I deemed significant from Virtual Crunchyroll Expo. This was a surprise announcement at the end of the Right Stuff panel. So you remember at the beginning of this year, we talked about a show called Interspecies Reviewers, and this is a TV anime with content too pornographic for Japanese pornography. So after Funimation had simulcast the first 3 episodes and simuldubbed the first one, they dropped it and erased all traces of its existence. A bunch of shit happened. Some YouTuber got his sheep to upvote it to the second highest rated anime on my anime list for a few days or something. And then it started to drop from various Japanese networks. And, it was probably the most controversial title in quite some time. So now, Right Stuff has done the only thing that you can do to release this in America, to license it at this point, which is the unprecedented move of releasing a TV anime under their hentai line.
Interesting.
Yep.
Huh.
So you can get Interspecies Reviewers in 2021 from Critical Mass Video, which is Right Stuff's hentai line. And now I guess the question is how uncensored it will be, because like I mentioned, I think it was the Taiwan stream of it as it was airing had a shot that you could not have in Japanese pornography. And, for that reason, obviously it was not included on the Japanese Blu-ray. But since they're releasing it as porn in the US, maybe they'll get that part of it as well. It's a very unique scenario, and I'm curious to see how it all unfolds.
Blasted dong for that shot? Were they blasted dong? Is that what it was?
No, it was the other side of it. They're not gonna show you a dong. This is for guys.
Yeah, true. When we talked about this last time, didn't you say the anime is significantly worse than the manga it's coming from?
Yeah. Which is, I think, why it got licensed in the first place, and how it was allowed to air on TV is because people didn't expect it to be just straight up hentai.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was some bait and switch happening there that no one was quite. I think everybody was taken by surprise. No one was expecting that.
It's pretty incredible.
I wonder what the creators were expecting. Was this just a game to see how far they could go before it got canceled, and then that was gonna be it?
Probably. I mean, it never got canceled outright. Some networks played it to the end, and it all got released on Blu-ray.
What a
So
gamble!
silly.
It's pretty fascinating, yeah.
Feel like we're gonna get hentai on TV. How are you gonna do that? We just won't tell them it's hentai.
Exactly.
Did they list a price?
No, it's not up for order yet. They just announced that it would be released next year.
I hope I can pre-order it.
I'm sure you can.
It blows my mind that they managed to get a dubbed episode of that out before everything went upside down.
Yeah, I hope they include that.
Oh, I do too. I want them to
if
go
it was
back.
Discotheque, 100% they'd include it. Anyone else, I'm not sure.
Yeah. They should take it one step further and go back and get those VAs to do the rest of the series.
I think it's totally possible.
I mean, I don't think they were like, hey, no. They're like, we're getting paid. Who cares?
Even though they did release that one dubbed episode, it was the only dub in modern history I'm aware of where everyone went uncredited.
Yeah. Even though it was super obvious who some of those people were.
Yeah.
For most of those people.
One or two of the actors announced on Twitter, they're like, I'm not ashamed.
They're like, who cares, man? It's not like I was up there naked on screen.
Right.
I'm just gonna buy a copy and have DJ dub it for me.
Do the whole thing. That's fine.
That's my plan. I want you to do all parts.
Yep.
I'm down.
Good.
I'll send you my rates.
I don't get a discount?
You can get a discount. That's fine.
Ah, hell yeah.
This is my first time voicing a girl discount.
If it makes it any better, the girl who's a main character is also a guy.
That's cool.
Hey.
Yeah.
All right. Wow, yeah, I can't believe that's actually. I mean, yeah, it makes sense to release it under a hentai line. You don't really have a choice. I'm just
Mhm.
surprised it got a release period.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there are enough people who just want the novelty of owning that controversy. I'm like debating it myself.
I mean, yeah, there is a certain like yeah desire to own it because it is so taboo and weird and controversial. So that is true. I could see people buying it strictly for that purpose.
Yeah, like if I buy it, that's definitely the reason. There's no shortage of porn out there, so I can't imagine anyone.
Yeah.
Although, well, I say that, but then I know that people give like $5,000 a month to DJ, and he says that he wouldn't have any of that if it wasn't for the porn in it. So maybe I'm
Yeah,
mistaken.
I would not. I would have like $20 if there was no porn in this game.
I think of it kind of like the Double Down from KFC. Like I don't think anyone bought that because they thought it was gonna be good. They bought it
Right.
because it was a sandwich with 2 pieces of chicken as the buns.
Yeah, it's all about the gimmick.
Yeah, it's the gimmick, it's the novelty. So this could actually sell better than people expect, I think.
It will be interesting to watch. I think they
Indeed.
need to get that ultra uncensored version though, because I think if you don't go all out, then it's not going to be worth it.
Oh yeah, you gotta go balls to the wall or it's gonna feel like a cop out.
I think the question is just, will the Japanese licensors let them have that cut? Because it wasn't released there, but that's
Hmm,
how hentai works. So if they're going to release it as such, maybe.
true. Well, I'll wait with bated breath. DJ DJ, send me your rate sheet.
Done.
All right.
Oh, it's so weird.
Are we done talking about porn for the moment?
Yeah, for the
For
moment.
now. Yeah,
All
for
right.
now.
Um, so moving past that weekend of news, some news coming out of Japan. The Legend of Galactic Heroes remake, Die Neue These, has 2 seasons under its belt, and those were announced from the get go. But since that ended, it wasn't really sure if there would be any more. So now it is announced that it's getting another 24 episodes. So that's doubling the amount of content we've had so far, and should probably get to about the halfway point of the story.
Has that been good at all? Has anybody watched it?
Yeah, of course I've watched all of it. Like, unless it was Berserk, I wasn't gonna stop watching it. Um, yeah, I wasn't that impressed at the beginning. It's certainly nothing compared to the original. But as time has gone on and it's reached some of the stronger parts of the story, it's getting a little better. They're handling it decently. So yeah, it's not great, but it's fine. I'll watch more.
This was made by the same people who did Kuroko's, right?
Yeah.
Because they look like Kuroko characters.
Yes.
Okay.
my friend and I like to call this remake Legend of the Galactic Body Pillows.
Kuroko's Galactic Conquest.
Yeah. Have you started watching the original Kane? I know you mentioned you were going to.
No. I probably won't until like we're all settled with this house business and stuff, because I want to
Mm-hmm.
be able to actually focus on it, which is
Yeah.
why I haven't really been watching a whole lot of anything, because it's I've been so tied up with all that, so it's been a lot of like reruns of old stuff or like puff shows that don't have any real anything going on with them.
Yeah, if there's anything that demands your undivided attention, it's Legend of Galactic Heroes, with its 300 characters and however many plot threads are going at all times.
Well, it's like a political thriller mostly, so as
Yeah,
I understand it,
a
so yeah,
political
you got to
thriller
be able
with
to.
300 characters.
Yeah, so you can't have it on as background noise.
It's like Game of Thrones, except just all the politics all the time and 10 times as complicated.
That sounds kind of fun.
It's great.
Yeah, it is
A little.
considered like one of the best of all time. So I can only assume it's earned that.
I would imagine.
Yeah, it is brilliantly written.
And you can watch it all on, I think, like VRV or Crunchyroll, right?
Yeah, it's Verve or High Dive. It's from their High Dive package. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because that's what I have now.
Or you can spend $800.
Ah, yes.
Can I interest you in this $800 box set?
Which one would I rather do? Knowing my purchasing habits. Can I buy it? Can I lease it from you disc by disc?
I really do hope they release that in an affordable way at some point.
You know it's never going to happen.
It's so bizarre. Like, there must have been some mix-up there where they didn't sign the contract they thought they were signing, because there's no way they're making money from it.
Not a chance.
Yeah. They only have 1,000 units to sell.
I hope they do that as well for Captain Tyler. Because I saw that's getting a Blu-ray, and I was like, oh, hell yeah. But it is also super expensive. It's not that expensive.
All the right stuff limited editions always get standard releases.
Yeah, so that's what I'm going to be waiting for. Because I have the Right Stuff DVDs of Captain Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just been waiting for a Blu-ray release, and I was like, oh, hell yeah. And then I saw the fucking price.
Yeah, I was waiting to see if the Utena Blu-ray box, dropped below a certain threshold, and it never did. So, I got the DVD limited edition, so I just bought the standard edition Blu-rays. It's a nice looking box, though.
Yeah. So
I
only watched a little bit of the Dinoya Tos. Is it like a shot-for-shot remake, just nicer, or?
No, it's the same story, but it doesn't even acknowledge the original. It's a new adaptation of the novels. So things that the original changed are different here. It's why virtually none of the characters are remotely recognizable, because those were character designs from the anime staff of a previous adaptation, so they don't necessarily look like that in the novels. So outside of the two main characters, you cannot tell who these characters are supposed to be looking from one to the other. So yeah, it's certainly not a shot-for-shot remake. It's just a new interpretation in, I would say, kind of worse all around, other than, animation quality and just the technology that's available to them now.
Right.
But in terms of, direction, writing, music, designs, just acting, songs, theme songs, I'd say all of those things are dramatically better in the original. The music's kind of a cheat to say, because the original is all classical music, but hey, they could have done that for the remake.
Yeah, there's nothing stopping them.
Yeah.
That shit's in the public domain now.
It certainly has been for a very long time. And you have to have a really good director who can make it work that well like the original did. So might not have worked with this guy, but anyway, it's getting decent, so I'm looking forward to more, at least.
Yeah, that's another one I'll have to pick up again too. I'll probably just watch the original first. But though it sounds like you don't, like you said, you don't really need to do since it's a different adaptation. So I'm sure
you certainly don't need to watch either of them to watch the other. I would just, obviously highly recommend the original over the remake.
Yeah, you just have to be okay with 80s art style.
Yes.
Big hair, baby.
As you've discussed, that's kind of your jam, right?
Yeah, I like that more in general. I don't have anything against the newer style. I like them both, but I do gravitate more towards 80s and 90s styles than most of the stuff that comes out now. With a couple key exceptions, like Run with the Wind and that studio whose name escapes me.
IG.
Yeah, I like all of their shit a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say I normally like newer aesthetic more, but I don't know, I just couldn't get around just how plastic all of these characters looked in the new one. They're just so shiny and Ken-doll-y and lifeless, soulless. There was so much warmth to their designs in the original, and yeah, the fact that they all looked drastically different other than the two main characters didn't help either.
One blonde guy looks pretty similar from this picture that Kate put down. The Mittermeier
Yeah, he looks similar
looks
enough, I guess.
generally similar.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Um,
yeah, I gravitate more towards the older style, but I think it's just more because some of my favorite animes are from that time period. So
yeah. Yeah, I know it would be hard to sell DJ on
oh my
the
god,
original. But I mean, it's no
Yeah.
different than trying to sell you guys on Clannad, so.
Yeah. I mean, like, if people really talk about how good the story is in something and I don't like the aesthetic, I will still go for it because that's what happened with Lane, and that's like one of my favorite shows now.
Well, there you go. Watch Legend of Galactic Heroes.
Eventually.
I mean, yeah.
This is gonna be the new Full Metal Alchemist.
I mean,
versus
whatever.
like 5 years of Kestrel being like, please.
Full Metal Alchemist is like the most accessible thing in the world to anyone.
It
Like,
really is.
Nobody can't like that show. I understand that trying to sell most people a 110 episode 80s extremely dense, extremely dry political space opera is not the easiest sell.
I don't normally like stuff set in space to begin with. So that's like another barrier of entry for me.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter that it's set in space. It's just politics and strategy and tactics.
yeah,
I do like those things.
it always
That's
felt
cool.
more like it just happened to be in space, kind of like how ping pong just happens to be about a ping pong team, but it's not about
Right.
ping pong in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Okay. I get that.
Yeah. Okay, so do we want to move on to the next piece of news?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so another thing that I had been hoping for since a previous announcement earlier this year was that since Funimation did a little theatrical run of the Violet Evergarden side story movie, that they would license the entire franchise. And they have! So you can now order the complete TV series in a beautiful collector's edition or standard edition, as well as the side story movie, which are both being released in December. So yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Hooray!
Oh, and they have the OVA as well, which also came out on Netflix. That's also in the complete series.
I'm happy
Nice.
about this.
Yeah. Like, I really wanted to own that show, have it on Blu-ray, and especially that box set, which I know another country had released it. It was maybe a Korean release. It was pretty much the exact same box. So I really wanted to see that kind of box arrive in America as well. But more than anything, this is good news for everyone who, has Netflix anime that they really want to own, because it shows that there's more of a chance of it. It's happening.
Yeah, Emily and I got around to actually watching this. Now, if you recall, we didn't watch it in Japanese or English, and we continue with that. We watched it in German,
Right.
and it was cool as hell.
Yeah, I don't think you'll be able to get it in German.
No, unfortunately, but it was really cool to listen to in that, because all the dubs, we listened to like the trailers of all of the dubs, and they were all like strong. So it didn't feel like one was half-assed. So we bounced in the trailers between French and German, especially because they kind of are in Germany.
Right.
So we thought it just made more sense in a way. Like, why not, when you have the opportunity? They're in what is essentially Germany, so why not listen to them speak in German if the dub is good? And it was. And I mean,
Yeah.
the show in general is just good, period. So that was obviously a plus. It wasn't a big old hunk of shit, but yeah, I'll have to be on the lookout for that release as well. It's certainly one of the prettiest shows I've seen in recent memory.
This is a good price for this box set.
How much?
Right now it's $63.74 on Right Stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not terrible.
It comes with, let's see, Violet Evergarden limited edition. It contains episodes 1 to 13 of the anime. Comes housed in a rigid box with space for the movie.
Oh yeah, and they did mention that it will have space for both movies. When
Yeah,
the second
and
one
the
just
other
came out
movie.
in Japan.
Four art cards and a 200-page art book and sticker sheet.
Ooh, stickers. That's the big thing.
200-page art book's huge.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about it. Stickers.
Oh my god.
That's big for an art book, for a pack-in art book. Usually they're way smaller than that.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that because obviously, that show is filled with gorgeous art, so that's going to be pretty amazing. And yeah, Funimation is definitely the best in terms of affordability of collector's edition boxes. So that's going to be one thing that the Crunchyroll move to Sentai will take a little hit from, but again, you'll get it on sale eventually.
Yeah, for everything but the most in-demand stuff, yeah, I'm sure you'll pick it up for cheap.
Yeah.
Cheap-ish,
Right.
given the market. But yeah, that's not a bad price at all.
Yeah.
For all of that.
I didn't even look at the price, I just ordered it.
Yeah. That's a really, really good price.
Yeah, and they basically confirmed that they'll be getting the new sequel finale movie that just came out in Japan as well. So look forward to that.
It's a chipboard box, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so rigid is a subjective term there.
Yeah, that's what Funimation and Aniplex call all their chipboard boxes in the listing for some reason.
Yeah, because I have a couple of those and they're fine, but it's not like it's super easy to smash the corners.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's, the corners, the problem with that is the shipping, because that's usually where the shit gets destroyed.
Yeah, that's what happened to my Kogias limited edition.
Usually Right Stuff is very good about that. But there are some that are sturdier than the most standard chipboard boxes that they put out.
I wish we got more steelbooks.
Hey, we're getting so many steelbooks these days.
Well, I want more.
Not the Garden of Words one.
But yeah, that's a little piece of news, not news, that transpired in the past few weeks. Garden of Words steelbook was available for pre-order and then promptly removed and then relisted as not a steelbook. So
that's a heartbreaker.
That's sad.
Yeah, I was very excited to get that.
Why? Because he's gotten popular. People would buy it.
If they're gonna re-release the movie on Blu-ray anyway, why not steelbook?
Yeah, they had the Weathering with You steelbook at Best Buy, so
yeah, we've got steelbooks from Weathering with You from G Kids, Your Name from Funimation, and we were going to have Garden of Words from Sentai, but nope.
Rip.
Nope.
God hates us.
I would have bought that. That's actually how I found the Fandom post. It was Chris's review of Garden of Words, and I was like, "Oh, this is a cool site." And then here I am.
And now I know a famous person because of it.
He's gonna be even more famous once he dubs my Interspecies reviewers.
That's really what's gonna put me on the map.
Yeah.
That's gonna put you over the top.
I'm pumped. I might just do it pro bono.
For exposure.
Yeah, you pay me an exposure, please.
I'll pay you an exposure.
That's my favorite sentence.
I'm sure you get it all the fucking time.
God.
Somebody suggested that I do that with my game, yesterday. I almost threw up.
Oh God.
I say you promptly laughed at them, right?
Here's
heartily.
my 500,000 word script. Please read it for free for exposure.
Fantastic. Excellent. I forget what we were originally. Oh, we were talking about Violet Evergarden sets.
Yep.
A set, and then chipboard boxes. Got it. All right, cool. Back on track.
Yeah, so I think that's about as much to say about that one. Next piece of news. Okay, so I've been talking all year through these virtual conventions about how none of them have any decent fucking news. The only one that did was the little independently run Anime Lockdown because it had a discotheque panel. And I wasn't particularly interested in anything that they announced, but it was still full of a bunch of extremely exciting announcements for tons of people, which is not something we got from anyone else at any of these other huge events. So then Discotheque just decided to do their own little independent Twitch stream on the side one day. And, oh my god. I've been waiting for like 10 years for someone to. This has been my biggest licensing hope for like 10 years. That someone would license rescue Hajime no Ippo and release it on Blu-ray, and Discotek fucking got it. I knew it would be Discotek if it was anyone. I knew it would happen eventually. I knew it would be them, and I knew that I would finally be able to name them as my saviors, just as so many others have. And I just haven't had the opportunity to, because they don't release that much that I care that much about. But god damn it, they got all of Hajime no Ippo, well, all of the first season. They haven't announced New Challenger Horizon yet, but I assume if they've gotten this, that they'll get them eventually. They're going to release it on Blu-ray in 3 25-ish episode sets, and the first one they have like cover art and stuff for, so it should be coming not too long. And the sequel, New Challenger, which you can hear us talk about those 2 sequels in our last episode with the composer of them. The sequel, New Challenger, was never available in the US at all, ever, legally. And Rising was streamed on Crunchyroll, but, you know, it's a sequel to something that you couldn't see legally. So I'm definitely highly looking forward to finally having the series in print in small box sets, like, you know, concise box sets, I guess, on Blu-ray, and hopefully the sequel for the first time ever, and just being able to own all of it. So that was already like the biggest news I could possibly hope for. They also license rescued Rose of Versailles and are releasing that on Blu-ray after Right Stuff dropped the license from their DVD release a few years ago. They licensed the Project Echo anime, which isn't something I care about, but I know a lot of people do. And in typical Discotek fashion, they're going through like this insane process to like rip the lasers from the Laserdisc to like get the highest quality image they can possibly get. Apparently this new technology exists that some people have come up with that allows you to like hack the lasers of a Laserdisc.
That does not make sense.
So that you don't have to worry about the quality degradation of moving from that to a purely digital format. It doesn't make sense. I didn't follow it at all, but there's some weird contraption of like circuit board setup that allows them to do this, and they know a guy who has one. So
it's just like a dude in a garage.
Yeah, basically.
It's some guy in the back of his camper.
Little lasers.
That sounds like a weird ass scam, like, you know, like a Blu-ray rewinder or some dumb shit.
Yeah, well, if there's anyone who can get this done, it's Discotek, and, you know, Justin has all the connections to make sure it happens. So that's super bizarre and awesome. They also licensed the Lupin the Third Woman Called Fushiko Mine anime, which Funimation had let their license expire for a year or 2 ago, which, you know, of course is appropriate because Discotek has all the Lupin. And they licensed second season of Konosuba through Crunchyroll, obviously, since they have the first one. That was pretty quick after the release of the first season. Just like they licensed 15 things in that broadcast: Tokyo Crisis, Battle Athletes, Symphogear G, Submarine Super 99.
Ooh.
Yeah, tons of stuff. That's Leiji Matsumoto, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they got a bunch of Matsumoto stuff too. So yeah, fucking Discotek, they're amazing.
Discotek takes their old shit seriously. Now what they should do is pass that guy's card to Disney so we can get the original Star Wars movies off the Laserdisc. That's
exactly what I said. Like, not just doing that for the Laserdiscs, but like, I want to live in a universe where Discotek has the rights to Dragon Ball and Star Wars, because they are like the ultimate source of exactly the version you want to see of everything. And they will just do everything possible. Like, if they were in the business of bootleg live-action movies, then they would have a fucking better than Harmy's despecialized version. Because that's what they do. They just, like, put so much insane work into making sure every product is just beyond perfect, like no one else would possibly ever do. Oh, it's amazing. I'm so
I
glad that
bought
they.
a copy of Harmy's Despecialized at a horror movie convention from some dude in the back corner of the merch room.
Nice. I kind
Yeah,
of want a like Blu-ray copy of it.
it looks great. It really does. It was just,
That's
it felt like the shadiest thing imaginable because
right.
everything on his table was bootleg as hell.
That is the only bootleg that I would actually buy.
Yeah, I was trying to think of for Star Wars and Dragon Ball, like you said, if there are two more like disrespected media franchises, despite the fact that they've made their creators billions of dollars.
They're like the biggest franchises in their respective industries,
Yeah,
and yet
and
you
yet
can't own it the way you want.
their own company shits on them constantly.
Yeah. At least Toei generally treats Dragon Ball decently, but Funimation sure as fuck does not.
Yeah, except that Orange Box still keeps getting released
Yeah. Funimation is releasing their latest pretty shitty version of it on
in
Blu-ray and
steelbooks.
Steelbooks. And should you buy it? Probably not. But it is currently the only way that you can actually get the whole series in 4:3 without getting a third of the picture cut off. Or is it a quarter? Maybe it's a quarter. Anyway, a bunch of the picture cut off. So there's that at least.
Yeah, I saw that and I got kind of excited. I was like, oh, did they do another rescan, a remaster of some type? And I was like, probably not.
It's
But
definitely just from the 30th anniversary collection.
yeah, so I don't know. Maybe I'll just wait until they're up on eBay from some guy who bought them and then forgot he even owned them.
Yeah,
Because I think they're charging like 40 a piece, something like
yeah,
that.
probably. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
bummer.
Yeah, discotheque's just crazy. I love the
Because
fact that they also like will just be like, yeah, and we got the whatever dub exists for that thing. Doesn't matter
yeah,
how old it is or where it came from, but we have the dub for it too.
for the Cobra TV series, which they recently also picked up from Right Stuff, who only released on DVD, and obviously Discotheque will be releasing it on Blu-ray. Uh, they're like, yeah, there was some dude who just like dubbed the first two episodes, so we're gonna throw that in too.
Like, where did they even find that? Who had that?
yeah.
Where
They're Discotheque is about as close to a Criterion collection that you can get
Mhm.
for anime
Totally, yeah.
at this
I-
point, because they'll just do whatever and spend as much money to make it look nice, and then, like you said, throw random shit onto the discs.
Just
I look-
everything that's ever
Fucking
existed.
love
I look-
Criterion for that reason.
I look forward to the day centuries from now when Evangelion is like kicking around and they're like, oh, Discotheque picked up Evangelion. Somehow they got Taliesin Jaffe's like high school dub that he made and threw it on here because why not?
Yeah. They were talking about Big Order, which was like a shitty anime from a few years ago, by the creator of Mirai Nikki Future Diary, and it's like the
Also
worst.
shitty.
The worst
Yeah,
of
horrible.
that show. I thought that show was okay. Like there was a lot of really bad things about it, but it had so much potential that I kind of was okay with it overall. But Big Order was just all of the bad things about that just skyrocketed, like as bad as you could possibly make them. So it was really awful. They got that through like a Crunchyroll partnership or something. But they were talking about the OVA of that, which is like, so DJ, Black Mirror Bandersnatch.
Yeah.
It's like that, where it just has like hundreds of different branches.
Oh god.
Yeah, and so normally a company would just release like one cut of it, but Discotheque like put together every possible timeline of it that you could possibly watch and offers all of those for their Blu-ray. And they had to like figure it out, and there was like nothing in the materials that indicated that this was this kind of project. It was just like they would get materials from any other show or OVA. And so they just started watching it and were like, wait, what's going on? And so they had to create their own flowchart of like how
That's
the whole thing
ridiculous.
progresses.
That's
I love
really
it.
cool. I like
That's
that.
amazing.
Oh, their own web of suspicion, Pepe Sylvia style.
Right. Yeah, so, I wish I cared about more that they release because they are, like, unquestionably the best for just making every disc as perfect and ideal as possible, way beyond what anyone else would do.
Taking it to 11.
Yeah,
every
I'll have to
single
take a look at their library, and pick up some stuff then, just to support them in their crazy
Right. Yeah, I'm
ways.
always
they're-
happy when I can support them for that reason.
I mean, they're great too because they'll pick up like random shit from like a million years ago that you're like, oh, hey, cool. Like,
Yeah,
I bought Cyber 6 from them because they decided to release that. Nobody remembers what the hell that was.
they were showing off this footage from some ancient like Tezuka thing or something that was like super pornographic or something, and they had like the original version that was released, which you couldn't really make out what was going on at all, and then like their remaster that they had to do all themselves, which is ridiculously crisp for how old the material was and how bad all the contents were that were out there, and they dug up some old dub that nobody had heard from in like 50 years and nobody thought it existed anywhere, and they just do so much of that. It's just like searching around for so much time and effort to try to dig up this old material that you'd think no one would care about, but I think they've just amassed this following of people who just appreciate how much work they put into it so much. And like, I wanted to buy that shitty old Tezuka porn thing. Like, that's how much I respected the amount of work they put into it. It's amazing.
You can definitely tell the budget hasn't gone into their corporate website,
Yeah.
because it is rough.
I don't give
No,
a shit
dude,
about that.
Dude, were you here when we had the discussion about their website?
Oh yeah, it was like
If you click go to click the links.
they're all like dead links.
Yeah, they're I mean, they have a link for on-demand DVD in there. So,
Nice.
yep, it's still they have yep.
I feel like that's like part of their brand though.
Yeah.
Like of course Discotech's website would be like that.
They're like, it's like you look at the Discotech links. Our stuff is really available from the following retailers: Deep Discount DVD, Best Buy, Amazon, Buy.com, AnimeNation.com, Suncoast, Right Stuff, Poker Industries, Diabolic DVD, and then you go over to like review sites. It's like Twitch Film, Asian DVD Guide, On-Demand DVD, DVD Talk, 10,000 Bullets. Ah!
So yeah,
I don't
wouldn't
recognize like any of those names.
I know, and that's so great. They're so old. It's so good.
I wouldn't necessarily recommend that anyone attend any of these virtual conventions that I've poured all my time into, but the next time Discotech does a stream, you really should check it out, because even if you're not interested in anything they're doing, just the amount of work that they show you that they've done, and their presentation style, and just how insane everyone in the chat goes over every announcement, it's like, it was more entertaining and enjoyable than any of the convention material that
I could see
ingested.
that. I definitely could see that. They seem to
With
have a
their
loyal
normal
following.
panels, like their normal panels are nothing but hype beast fests.
Right.
That's all it is, and it's amazing because it's just a bunch of dudes going batshit nuts.
But it's even better when you can just have like a Twitch chat on the side and just have, I forget how many people they had, hundreds of people just losing their minds constantly. I think they had like over 1,000 people. On this
Do it
last
right.
one. Yeah.
That's for sure. Yeah, they have a bunch of stuff on here that I'd be interested in. Like, they released The Great Passage on Blu-ray.
Mm-hmm.
Which, man, I'm sure 10 people bought that.
Yeah,
See-
I like that show, and even I would not buy it.
That's
I
how I
mean-
feel about so many Discotech titles, though, and it seems like they all do pretty well.
Yeah, I really like The Great Passage. Like, I'll probably end up buying this eventually, but I was surprised it ever got a release, because, yeah, I thought, did 12 people even watch this thing?
It's
Yeah.
I mean, given the subject matter of the show. I can't
Yeah,
really. It
dictionaries.
doesn't have. Yeah, it's not really a compelling story. Well, I mean, it is, but like, no one's gonna want to watch a show about dictionaries.
Yeah, it's a hard sell.
Yeah, that's something you wait until the end of the sales pitch, and you're like, by the way, it's about dictionaries.
It's like under your breath.
But yeah,
Oh, and
they're
then-
definitely. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was like, oh, and then I have the Cobra 4K movie that you gave me.
Yes, I did give you that because I did not enjoy the movie.
Oh
It's okay,
god.
I
didn't
It's okay,
realize,
I didn't either.
I didn't realize discotheque had school days.
That's true.
That's
Oh,
upsetting. It's upsetting that anyone has school days.
I'm like scrolling through. I'm like, oh yeah, they have all the all the old classics that everyone's like traded or like been through 5 other companies by now. Now they're like they have it, but then I hit school days. I'm like, why?
Yeah, I love all the total outliers in their catalog. A lot of them are Crunchyroll licenses, but some of them are just random one-offs like that. I guess if a show is going to be like kind of a meme show, Discotheque's probably got a good chance of licensing it.
Yeah, school days is definitely a meme.
Yeah.
Nice boat.
Nice
Yeah.
boat.
Discotheque, like, they have a bunch of different selling points, and I'd say memes are one of their stronger ones.
I respect the fact that for some reason they have Blue Seed, which
Yeah, dude, why not?
was the first like, oh, this is for mature audiences. Oops, tape trading show I ever ended up watching.
Yeah, Blue Seed is dope. They also have the Fatal Fury movie, which may be one of the ugliest animes in the history of anime. But they have it. Ugh, yeah, those are some terrible character designs.
Have you watched GB8? Because, man, that
Oh god,
show's
are we going
really-
to talk about this show again?
No, we're not.
No, I haven't, but should I?
I'm still
Uh,
mad about how it's pronounced.
Yeah, I'll send you my little informal review that I posted on the forum.
How is it pronounced?
GB8. If you assume it's a Japanese title, then you assume it's Gibiate, but no, it's GB8.
Oh, it's one of those.
It's not. It doesn't look like it. Yeah.
But yeah, it's this like super hyped. They were still promoting the fuck out of it at Crunchyroll Expo. Like, hasn't everyone already figured out that the show is like the worst thing? But yeah, it's like Yoshitaka Amano, who's the character designer for Final Fantasy, Vampire Hunter D, all that shit, and just like a beautiful, illustrious painter. He did like the original character designs, and they have like these super huge names and all the roles involved in it. But the actual show that came out of it is just the worst trash. So yeah, anyway, that's GB8. Hopefully no one ever licenses that, but holy shit, they're still pouring a lot into marketing it for some reason. I guess it's a Crunchyroll original, so I guess Sentai will eventually shit it out, I guess.
Oh god.
I think I'm just gonna buy Samurai Pizza Cats and call it a fucking day.
Yeah, that was
'Cause
one of
I
their
had-
crazy things where they were like, okay, we have the American version and the Japanese version.
Oh, I
They
had
have
the
those for
American
both.
version on VHS when I was little. So, hell yeah, I'll buy the shit out of this.
Yeah, they got a bunch of those like super Americanized versions, the Americanized version as well as the original Japanese version.
Man, I'm afraid to know what the Japanese version was like compared to the American version.
I think that was one of the few shows where the complete massacring of it English was actually improving upon the Japanese.
Okay, good, because that's how I'm gonna watch it. I'm not gonna watch a Japanese version. I want my childhood intact.
No, yeah, they have ghost stories too now. So
Right,
they have
exactly.
the full collection of like, yeah, this is actually probably better in the Massacre of English version compared to the
Speaking
boring
of
Japanese
ghost
one.
stories, how about that Stephen Foster book?
Nope, still not gonna read that.
Nope. Yeah. Yeah, so like I said, if a show is a meme, then Discotheque will probably pick it up.
Meme
Excellent.
itself.
Yep. And that's like part of, like a big part of their, I don't know, presentation aesthetic is like shitposting. So yeah, I get it. Their audience definitely eats that shit up.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Are we done singing Discotheque's praises for the moment?
Yeah, for the moment.
Until the next fucking amazing licensing spree that they announce.
Yeah, Discotheque's awesome. Go buy something from Discotheque and show them your love.
Yeah.
They still
right.
do have a bunch of exploitive stuff on here, but most of their exploitation stuff is out of print now.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. So you may have heard that there are some new Vigigame consoles coming out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
one of those is the PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
So with
The
the
one that Fandom Post Radio formally endorses.
yeah, I mean, I'm a PlayStation boy. I've never owned an Xbox, so
I
can
was
get
an
behind that.
Xbox person until PS4, and then I made the switch.
Yeah,
You made the Switch. You must be rolling in the dough.
Yeah, I invented the
That's fun,
Switch.
number 2.
man, Kate with the puns this episode.
Yeah, I know. Another
Wait.
one. Just
Did we lose our first pun in the Maury talk? I think that was the original recording.
Oh well.
Probably.
Yeah,
It was
that's
terrible.
okay. I'm sure she has just way more zingers up her sleeve.
I'm kind of impressed. Yeah, because it's the speed at which you respond. That's what's impressive about it.
Yeah, razor sharp.
Yeah.
I'm
I
a-
get behind
Spend the next hour complimenting Kate.
I mean, I'll take it because you know.
Yeah, I mean, usually Kate and I are at each other's throats, so, you know, mix it up a little bit. Speaking of which, something that is often a point of contention between the two of us is Final Fantasy for some reason.
We only found out what was putting contention this week.
It's true, yeah. We are of two different Final Fantasy camps. But usually when I talk about the Final Fantasy stuff that I like, Kate's like, fuck that! So anyway, all of this to say, one of the series, or one of the games announced as part of the big PS5 showcase was Final Fantasy 16.
That came out of nowhere.
It did. People were kind of suspecting that it would be announced this summer at a few different times. But yeah, Final Fantasy 16 was announced for PS5. I'll get to how much I believe that in a minute. But to put some perspective on this, Final Fantasy 15 was announced in 2006 as a spin-off of Final Fantasy 13. It went through several consoles, several complete redos of its development, until it was finally released over a decade after its announcement. Final Fantasy XIV was the 2.0 version of a previous Final Fantasy XIV, which came out of nowhere and was a disaster in every way, and we don't talk about anymore.
The new one's great, though.
Yeah, everyone loves the new one.
I was playing yesterday.
Oh, yeah. See, so a couple things about that. So I guess I should say Final Fantasy 16 is very clearly from the team from behind Final Fantasy 14, which is a very different camp of the Final Fantasy universe from the Tetsuya Nomura photorealistic
Very
anime aesthetic.
dark looking, the new
Yeah.
Final Fantasy, which is cool.
Yeah, and I would say, I'm of the Nomura camp, which Kate is of the other camp, for the most part. But I do appreciate that this other camp tends to go back to the fantasy a bit more instead of just like straight science fiction with a little bit of magic thrown in here and there, which is what the rest of it has been trending towards increasingly more and more.
Mm-hmm.
To the point that like 15 is just kind of a modern aesthetic with a bunch of science fiction elements and a little bit of fantasy. But yeah, this was very like medieval style, high fantasy.
It looked like a Game of Thrones game.
Right, exactly.
That's why I was like, I didn't like. It took me a while to realize that it was Final Fantasy 16 because I was like, "There's no way." Like it might be like a Final Fantasy like side project game, like kind of like how Type 0 was or something. I didn't think it was gonna like actually like that's what 16 would look like. It was surprising for me.
What does that even mean anymore? Because like I said,
True.
15 was announced as a spin-off of 13. So a numbered title doesn't necessarily mean that much compared to some of the spin-offs or direct sequels or remakes. But it is exciting that like this is basically the first time we've gotten like a just straight announcement of a new numbered title since, I don't know, 13 really, that wasn't involved in the fuckery of 14 or 15. And that was, I think, actually 13 and 15 were technically announced at the same time. I think those were both E3 2006 as part of that whole project.
So long ago.
Yeah, so it's been a while, and we'll see what happens with the development of this.
Now, okay, I have something to add into that, because it's like everyone was joking, oh yeah, cool, it'll be out in 2032 or whatever.
Yeah. My bet's 2030.
Yeah, press sneak Jason Schreier of Bloomberg News actually said that 16 has been in development for 4 years. It's way further along than anybody realizes, and it should come out within the next 2 years.
I was gonna say, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say 2022. Like I've just like, I have a feeling that they didn't have to. 13 to 15 was a big departure just in terms of combat and stuff, and it seems like 16 is reusing a lot of the same stuff that 15 and 7.
It basically looks like 14 with 15's combat.
Maybe and maybe not. It might be full action. We're not quite sure.
Well, 15 is full action.
Is it full action? Like full action?
Yeah.
So is the Final Fantasy VII.
Like a tactical hack and slash game.
Okay.
Final Fantasy VII Remake is too.
Yeah. A guy who used to work at Capcom on Devil May Cry and Dragon's Dogma joined the 16 team.
Mm-hmm.
Which bodes well, because both of those games have really good combat. So maybe hope.
Yeah,
I think I'm most looking. It's been a long time since I've been excited for a Final Fantasy game, and I'm not really excited for this, but I'm hopeful in a way that I have not been in a while.
And of course, on the other side of this, I'm less excited. Like, I'm excited just by the prospect of a new numbered Final Fantasy title after, so much shit has happened with the last few, and it's kind of like a fresh start, because we were still getting 15 content up through, like, I don't know, a few months ago. A fishing game. All this shit. So much to it. And all of this was tied into the original meta series that 13 was part of. So, like, we've kind of been on this same trend of this Final Fantasy sub-universe for, like, 15 years. So getting a fresh start with this, it's exciting. I'm not that into, this style as much as the 15 and 13 and 7 kind of aesthetic and all that shit. But I'm obviously going to buy it. I think I'll play it. I never played 15 because I didn't have time after I waited 10 years for it.
But I never played 15.
Same. Yeah, I got Type 0 and played the 15 demo.
I love Type 0. That's such an underrated installment in Final Fantasy. It's like the darkest I've seen Final Fantasy, which is why I like it so much.
And that was kind of the idea why 15 and Type 0, which both had different titles that had 13 in the title originally, were spin-offs and not main series titles, was because he wanted them to be darker than he thought a Final Fantasy main series title could be. Of course, 15 ended up being one anyway. But, I like that whole, like, meta-universe of the whatever the fuck it's called, the Fabula Nova Crystallis. It's a fucking dumb name.
It's weird
but
shit.
I like that whole, like, shared mythos and stuff. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this. The fact that all Final Fantasy games are just action RPGs now feels a little wrong, but I get it, and I like the innovations they've taken with, blending the traditional combat with action RPG elements and just new ideas and building upon them with each installment. So I liked Final Fantasy VII Remake a lot. And that kind of brings me to my other... So I guess, for one thing, okay, I can grant that this will probably be out before 2030. It may even be out on the PlayStation 5. But I don't believe for fucking second it's coming out in 2 years.
I'm trying to be optimistic.
I believe they believe that. I don't think that's going to happen. And also, we're still only one chapter into Final Fantasy VII Remake, and there's no word on the second chapter or how many there will be.
I feel like the second chapter of that is coming out definitely after 16.
Really?
I really do. I feel like we're going to get a new Final Fantasy VII like every 8 years or something.
That would be like so absurd though, because
it would, absolutely, but that's what will happen.
We've already been waiting. We already had Final Fantasy VII Remake confirmed 5 years before the first chapter came out, rumored for 10 years before that, and it's an episodic project to complete a single story. With 13, at least, its 2 direct sequels each came out 2 years after. I think it was like 2010, 2012, 2014 for the 3 Final Fantasy 13 games. That's how I see Final Fantasy 7 Remake going.
I hope so.
For 16, for any fucking Final Fantasy game, for any tentpole Square Enix game to be released 2 years after it's announced, I don't believe it for a second. No chance. Kingdom Hearts 3 was the same thing. It was like 15 years of development. Went through like 3 consoles.
There's no precedent for what I'm feeling about 16 at all. But I've just got a feeling. Like I think that they have acknowledged how hard they dropped the ball with the release of 15, and I feel like they're really trying hard to prove everybody wrong this time.
But then they did the same thing with Kingdom Hearts 3, and then they did the same thing with Final Fantasy 7 Remake. And if they release
they're slow.
But
Okay.
that's Nomura's teams. This is the 14 guy who was able to turn all this shit around and be like, yeah, we can do this, no problem.
That's a fair argument, yeah.
And there are, it's like, I think Square Enix, after all this time, is finally realizing that maybe we should hedge our bets on the Final Fantasy team just a little bit and not have just one team working on one game. So the Nomura's people were shifted over to 7, but they can sit and take all the time they want doing whatever fucking bullshit they're doing over there. And meanwhile, they can keep pumping out games with a team that can actually get the games produced over here.
I'll grant that to you if it ends up happening, but I think it would be like a real kick in the balls if after all the fucking time we waited for the 7 remake, from, Advent Children and the tech demo to the eventual announcement 10 years later to one fraction of it 5 years after that, if we have to keep waiting like 5 to 10 years between chapters of this, and they're all like 100 years old developing the last chapter of Final Fantasy VII, like, we shouldn't get 16 before then. We'd never heard about 16 or anything related to it until like a few days ago. At least 15 was just this 13 spin-off from 10 years prior. But 16 is a fresh slate. We don't need that before they finish the project they're already working on and has been in progress and everyone has wanted for 15 plus years.
See, the thing was that when they announced the 7 remake and all those other games, all they had was a trailer. That's all they had was a trailer.
Well, so when they announced 13 and all that shit, they had started development of what eventually became 15, and they were several years into development of 13. However, and the same thing happened with Kingdom Hearts 3, they like to take their time and then, the next console's coming out, we should probably just scrap everything we've done and start from scratch for the next console. And then maybe it happens a second time, because, man, those consoles sure do move quickly. So, like, Kingdom Hearts 3 was supposed to be on PS2, and then PS3, and then PS4. And 15 was supposed to be, like, not a launch title, but it was announced at the same time as the PS3, basically, was released. And it eventually ended up getting released well into the lifespan of the PS4. And obviously that meant that they completely restarted development. So I don't know what to believe. Oh, and Final Fantasy VII Remake, it started as, the rumors started as the PS3 tech demo to be like, this is what a PS3 could do when it comes out next year, and then it eventually ends up being one of the last tentpole releases for the PS4, and obviously all subsequent chapters, and most assuredly a re-release of the first one will be PS5 releases. So yeah, I don't know that this is going to come out in 2 years, but we'll see.
It probably won't, but I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, even though they don't deserve it.
I don't think it's going to be as ambitious as the other games look. I don't think it's going to be anything remotely close. That's why the graphics aren't pushing it real hard. That's why any of that stuff is. I think it's just like I think it's going to focus on story, have heavy action gameplay, and it'll be nice to see what happens. Like I saw some theories going around that the main character is a blue mage or has the abilities of one, and it'll be interesting if it's more narrative, driven, and the narrative isn't horseshit like Final Fantasy games usually are. That'll be great.
This is an opinion of Kate and Kate alone.
Come on, man. You can't tell me that most of the Final Fantasy games plots aren't complete horseshit.
I could tell you that. I could.
That's
a difference in opinion.
Yeah, I don't think they are. The plot of 14 is fucking so good. At least it is now.
That's the team that's working on 16, so that's why I have high hopes. So
I like 13 too. Like I'm not 13 too. Like 13 also.
Gotta be clear there. When you're talking about Final Fantasy titles,
those are two completely different things. No, I like Final Fantasy 13 a lot. Like Lightning's still my favorite Final Fantasy.
I think
girl. She's
go
cool.
ahead. You're gonna say more.
It's the big problem I had with that game was just some of the characters really sucked. And the story itself wasn't bad, but just the character writing for fucking Hope in particular, he should
I kind of want to
forever.
replay a little bit of those games just now that I...
No, you don't.
What? I mean...
No, you don't.
13 had the weirdest critiques. Like, one of the big problems people had with that game was that the footsteps were too loud.
Okay, that's bizarre. That's a bizarre
I liked 13 and 13 too. I hated Lightning Returns. But,
that was just the Lightning fan service game. Dress up Lightning in new costumes.
I hated the gameplay of that. Like, hey, don't you want to go explore this fun new world? Well, too bad, because every second you waste counts against you. So stressful.
I hate anything with a time limit.
I thought I would
ever.
Until I played the 3DS remake of Majora's Mask, and then I was like, oh, well, yeah, you can do it well. But Lightning Returns is garbage. But anyway, that whole, like, Fabula Nova Crystallis feels stupid every time I say it. That whole meta series with all of the 13 stuff and its spin-offs and 15 and all its spin-offs. I think the aesthetic for all that is great. Some of the shared concepts are really interesting, and I think the storytelling is largely pretty good. There are some less stellar stories in there, but like 7, that's a fucking great story. Great characters, great writing. Yeah, I mean, some of the earlier games didn't have that much of a story to speak of, but I would say largely one of the things that has made Final Fantasy most successful is its storytelling and writing and characters.
Boys. That's all I have to really contribute, other than I was gonna say, is it just me or did it feel like Kingdom Hearts 3 released and then just died?
Yeah, that was interesting.
100%. I mean, when things are hyped up for fucking years
10,
and years and years, they're not gonna live up to it.
Yeah.
I mean, people were still talking about the 7 remake for a little bit, but man, it felt like 3 came out and then a week later everyone was like, well, that was a game.
Considering how much people love Kingdom Hearts, I was kind of surprised by that.
My brother played through every Kingdom Hearts piece of media up until then just to like punish himself, and he's like, I wish I didn't do this. This story sucks.
Yeah, the second game ended with kill them all like God sort them out. It was like
it also
what?
He even did the ones where you're just watching a movie just on a console.
The release of just all of the Kingdom Hearts games. It's like fucking like 2.1 and like just a whole bunch of weird names
all of these like
2.5 divided by 17 point. Yeah.
All of these dumb spin-offs of different genres and weird platforms and dumbass fucking titles, they're all like essential to the storyline too. Like I thought it would just be like, oh yeah, you can just play 1, 2, and 3. Nope, you gotta consume all of it.
I mean, what do they do about the ones that released on systems?
Well, they ported them all to PS4.
They had it.
They ported
The
They
GBA
ported
game
most of
over?
them, and then they just released like the cinematics for the other ones.
Because I know there was a GBA
Yeah.
game. I played it a million years ago when that was a system that you could play games on.
Was that Dream Drop Distance? I don't
No.
know.
Yeah, I think I don't know,
Now,
something like
Kane,
that. I don't know.
why do you think the name is Dream Drop Distance?
Oh, that came out on the DDS. Yeah, because that's how the DDS's games are all named. That's right.
All of the
Makes sense.
All of the
I
names.
guess in a convoluted
All
Square
of the names
Enix
have
way.
some dumbass fucking reason that they make sense. But yes, Dream Drop Distance is so that it could be 3D and it would be released on the 3DS. Yeah. It's dumb.
It's dumb.
But yeah, there's a release which I got Caitlin the Kingdom Hearts 3 like collector's edition and this other release of all the media that had come before, because she was like, I want to play Kingdom Hearts, it's got Disney characters, and I was like, I feel like I should own Kingdom Hearts, I'm a Final Fantasy fanboy. So I bought it for her, and she played up through like the first boss, and she owns every piece of media for the entire franchise and has never touched the rest of it. But anyway, it comes with, it's like a pretty cheap set for PS4, and it comes with, you know, the latest remasters, 2.8 plus whatever, HD 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue. Sorry, how could I not remember that? But it also has, like, you know, every piece of media, all the new ports, all the cinematics for the games they weren't going to port over, everything that matters for the storyline included in that package. So that's cool if you want to get into Kingdom Hearts. But yeah, I feel like everyone who was hyping up 3 was kind of underwhelmed in the end. One thing that we started to touch on a little bit there was how this trailer for Final Fantasy 16 looks. And yeah, I wasn't all that impressed with it. Like, I feel like it looks about the same as the PS4 games, and maybe even not that much better than the PS3 games, which, you know, look phenomenal for their time and system. But yeah, for like a PS5 showcase, I felt like it, you know, this didn't look like something next gen. Didn't seem to be above the standard that we've kind of had for the past 10 years or so.
I think it looked really good.
Consoles?
I
feel like the modern consoles don't have that track record, because I don't think any of the PS4 games looked amazing either, because they always have to fight with releasing on an older console gen at the same time.
Well, not like the exclusives.
Yeah, because if I remember, like, the Killzone game didn't look super great.
The first Killzone, the one that launched with PS4, is still one of the best looking games in my opinion. It's beautiful.
Gotcha. Shadowfall? Then I must be thinking about the fact that it just didn't play very well.
Oh, it played like shit. It looked really good though.
Yeah, because I used to really like that game series. Like, I played all of them up to there, and I never picked up Shadowfall because everyone was like, yeah, no, you're fine.
It wasn't a good game, but oh my god, it was pretty.
But yeah.
It's like, did like gimmicky thing where it's like the touchpad on the controller was like important to gameplay in that. You had to command a little robot dude with the touchpad, and it's like, okay.
Well,
Things
Killzone
like that
3 did that too. Killzone
Ugh.
3 did that with the 6-axis controller, where that was the only way you could turn, like, doorknobs, was by, like, rotating the controller around. I remember that, because I was playing with an off-brand PS3 controller, and I couldn't get past the point in the game.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so the game is impossible to beat if you didn't have a name brand 6-axis controller. Fuckers.
But yeah, like, you know, the Final Fantasy 13 games were only released on PS3 while they got ported to Xbox. And they were developed for PS3, and then, you know, 15 and 7 remake, well, 15 started as a PS3 development, and then they completely scrapped it and made it a PS4 development. And, you know, 7 remake, they might have started that on PS3, but it ended up being just PS4. And, you know, maybe the second chapter of 7 remake will be PS4 and PS5. But for the most part, they're all just released on their console and developed for that console. So I don't, and that's certainly the case with 16. I mean, it was announced as a PS5 exclusive as part of this PS5 showcase. So I don't think that's the reason. I think they've just kind of maybe hit a limit.
Yeah, I don't think graphics can get much better than they are.
I don't know. Again, like I feel like maybe 15 and 7 remake look a little bit better than this, in terms of like just the, I don't know, maybe it's easier to make.
Those games had like brighter
It
color
might be-
palettes though. 16 was overwhelmingly dark, just like all around.
I've been playing Ghost of Tsushima, and I've played Horizon, and I've looked at the Ratchet and Clank trailers and all this other stuff. Yeah, 16 is not impressive graphically whatsoever.
Ratchet and Clank is more impressive graphically than Final Fantasy 16.
I wasn't expecting that to be dropped in there.
That's
Absolutely.
Okay, but
I think it does if you're talking about like particle effects and things like that. Ratchet and Clank, the new one, looks phenomenal with how many enemies they can put on the screen and all the shit that's going off the fucking time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean when they look like PS1 enemies, it's like
No. Go watch the trailer for the new Ratchet and Clank game.
I literally watched it live.
But the stuff we're talking about is like, photorealistic human beings, and that's what doesn't look great here. And maybe that was easier to do with the more anime-styled people. But it's just so obvious when you're watching, like, gameplay and live-rendered cutscenes versus, like, a full cinematic. And I just thought that gap would be closer by now, because it feels about like it did more than 10 years ago in 13.
It's just there's not a lot of geography on the faces of the younger characters. They all look they had that very plasticky Final Fantasy anime looking people, but then they have the people in the trailers that look like the older dudes, and they look like the trailer for that game is highly inconsistent. Let's just put it that way. Like the first half of that trailer, the part where the guys are talking around the campfire, looks way better than when they jump to the flashback where the kid's there and the other people, and then the lighting's flat and everything's all messed up, and it's like, wow, okay, maybe you need to make a couple more graphics passes, like, please.
And it's just like, we've known how good Square Enix can, or what is the division that does like the cinematics, Visual Works? Yeah, I think so. We know how good they can make stuff look. Like, Advent Children is 15 years old now, and the cinematics for 13 and everything since then, like, that looks so good. I thought that a few more generations down the line we could get a little bit closer to that with the live rendered graphics, and I'm just surprised that we're still so far from it.
I don't know. It just looks it looks sloppy for them for
their standard. Yeah.
But this is the other thing I heard. The other thing I heard about just what's going on in Square, in general, is they have that other game coming out eventually that I can't remember the name of. That was just a teaser trailer. Yeah, what was it, like something or other? Yeah, I can't remember what that is.
Was that like the Project Althea or something? Yeah.
Yeah, that thing. That's supposed to be their, like, we're pushing the limits of what graphics
Which I
can
guess
do
makes
project.
sense, because that's the team that tends to do that.
Yeah, so that's like where all the like, ooh, this is super impressive things is gonna go. I think 16 is more like 16 is gonna be the thing that focuses on the gameplay mechanics and the story.
Yeah, like I said, I think the storytelling of the other side of the company that does all the really pretty stuff is very good for the most part, but I can definitely see how this could have much better gameplay mechanics than some of those games. Because, like, I enjoyed the gameplay of Final Fantasy 13, but I'm not going to say it was good. Okay.
I am.
I did
liked
too,
it a lot.
but
I like the combat in that game
I
way
do
more
too.
than I should. Because I know it's a big point of contention for a lot of people, but it was like a good balance between turn-based, which is what I want out of Final Fantasy, and action.
And that's kind of why I was saying, like, I'm kind of disappointed that they're just going for straight action for every new title.
It's upsetting. Even fucking... Oh, wait, no, it's the opposite. Like, games that are succeeding in their own formula that want to change it confuse me. Like Yakuza, which has always been a huge action game, is now a turn-based game, and that confuses me.
Yeah, that sounds weirder to me, but like following the history and trajectory of Final Fantasy, this has always been the path they've been on. Like, it started with straight turn-based, but they introduced like the ATB system pretty early on.
Yeah. It's been slowly.
So they've been gradually building on this, just like they've been gradually, moving from fantasy to science fiction. Except, this kind of looks like it's going a little bit backwards on that, which I'm fine with. All of those things, we are far, far from the Final Fantasy that started the franchise. But I think these are all, natural incremental changes that have been going on. I wish that we had more turn-based like stuff, but the 7 remake offers kind of a decent compromise there as well. You get to get into your menu and like slow down time and pick commands and stuff if you want. It's just the normal fighting is just action, so I like that combination a lot. And I liked 13 a lot, but as I was playing it and enjoying it, I was like, man, this isn't very good, is it? Like, it's mostly just like
it.
Auto battle. You basically just set up the paradigms and
the paradigm shifting was
exactly
where
that was the entirety of the gameplay.
Like, you had to figure out how to make
you compose your team their jobs and then do your paradigm shifts throughout the battle, and that was pretty much it. The rest was just auto battle, which I recognize is not necessarily the best gameplay mechanic, but as someone who's bad at video games and likes Final Fantasy for how pretty they are and how much I like the story and music, I was okay with that because it was easy.
It was very easy.
So yeah, we'll see how this one goes. I'm liking the action RPG style of Final Fantasy games lately, so I think I could probably get behind however this is going to present that.
All right.
Yeah.
We should probably move on.
Here's some news that DJ and I have been waiting for a very long time. So we've had a few episodes where we've talked about, like, what are the adaptations we want the most. And definitely one that's come out from DJ and I have seconded is Horimiya. So, did you not see this?
Wait, what? I didn't
live
know about
reactions
this.
from DJ.
No.
All right, well, let me...
I was really confused when you started this. I'm like, is there a thing I am excited for?
This was announced over a week ago.
Holy shit! Holy shit! Who's
let me
doing
lay this
it?
out for you. I'm so glad that I have your live reactions here. Okay, so Horimiya, full television anime announced for January 2021. The full staff and cast are already confirmed. There's already a trailer out. Okay, so it is Cloverworks, which is very, very good. They've done great work with Promised Neverland and Bunny Girl Senpai in the past few years since splitting off of A1.
I trust them.
And what they had done at A1 before they split off, also some of A1's best titles, which I'll mention a bit more in a second. This is like perfect for an announcement to pitch to DJ. Okay, so imagine, if you will, I'm announcing or I'm pitching to you. We're gonna adapt Horimiya. We're gonna have Cloverworks do it. The director of From the New World.
Oh my god!
The writer of Your Lie in April. The character designer of Little Busters.
Hell yeah!
The composer of Your Lie in April.
Okay.
And
awesome. Still.
So obviously 2 of the main 4 staff are carrying over their roles from Your Lie in April. Now, one of the big projects at the sub studio of A1 that eventually became Cloverworks was Your Lie in April. So basically, you have the same studio as well. And the director of this also directed and storyboarded at least 1 episode of Your Lie in April. So basically, the team from that doing Horimiya. Yeah.
All about it.
We got Koki Uchiyama and Haruka Tomatsu in the leads. Yeah.
Hell yeah. I love Haruka Tomatsu. Oh, man.
Yeah, and Uchiyama is a very appropriate choice as well. Yeah.
Definitely.
So, as you should expect from most Cloverworks and A1 titles, this is basically confirmed to be licensed by Aniplex.
Looks like I'm spending money. I'm prepared for it. This is a show I've always been down to spend money for if it existed. So, and
it's pretty much confirmed that it'll be simulcast by Funimation, as you can kind of expect at this point. Hopefully, it's not just Funimation, but yeah.
I hope they give it 10 seasons.
You're gonna be spending a lot of money. Well, I was gonna say that, but man, you got the money to spend now, so yeah.
Yeah, I can actually buy stuff now. It's weird. Oh man, I've been waiting so long for this. I'm so excited. And it's so soon too.
So soon that it's getting announced, that it's getting released. Yeah.
That it's getting released. Yeah, that's in 4 months.
Yeah, they've clearly been working on this for a while because like I said, they already have footage out there. They've already got a date.
Oh, it sucks that my anime of the year comes out in January.
Ooh, that would almost be a good segue, but I have one piece of news before the one that that would have segued to.
That's fine. I'm on a high right now, so I gotta come
so
down
glad
anyway.
That you hadn't heard this news. I never expected that you wouldn't have. I almost sent it to you, but I was like, what if he hadn't heard it?
I've been so busy the last week. I didn't even look at my phone until fucking Kane messaged me on Discord about the podcast. I have not looked at anything.
I was curious to ask you, since I have you here, what is your schedule like now that you can just do whatever whenever?
I've been I can make my own schedule, but since I have so much more time, I have been working more because of that. I've just been, every event I'm putting double the amount of time into that I was when I had 2 jobs. So it's I'll still wake up around I'll wake up 9 to 10-ish now and work until 2 or 3, then take a couple hour breaks and then work from 7 to 12 again. So it's just, there's no set schedule. It's just I work whenever I want to work, which is all the time because I'm a fucking workaholic.
It clearly pays. People appreciate it.
Yeah, it's working. Literally working. I might take a day off at the end of this month.
Probably a good idea.
So that'd be cool.
You probably shouldn't work yourself to death, but goddamn, I gotta commend you for the results.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm happy. Finally. News though. There was one more thing.
I have a couple more things. Next piece of news, whatever, it probably means nothing. They've got a director for the live action Your Name thing. It's a dude named Lee Isaac Chung, who I've never heard of, and I've never heard of anything he's worked on. Yep.
Cool. That sounds about right.
That's about
as you thought.
What I would expect for whoever ends up with this, if anyone eventually does. Chances are none of these will get made by anyone who you've ever heard of. It'll start with a J.J. Abrams, but it'll end up with a Lee Isaac Chung. I don't know if anyone has anything to comment on that. It's not much to say.
No, I can't. I don't know this guy's. I don't know this guy's name off the top of my head. So
yeah.
Do we have a list of anything he's done?
I can look it up. It's
No.
like a few things that I've never heard of. We've got, the question is, can I pronounce this? And the answer is no. Someone got a pronunciation key somewhere. Damn it. All right, let's go with nope. Moonyurongabo. Sure, we're gonna go with Moonyurongabo.
I haven't heard of any of these things he's worked on.
I'm gonna say this is Minari as if it's Japanese, but it's not. It's Korean, so I don't know how it's pronounced. A white person would say Minari.
White people.
And then the other three that don't have Wikipedia pages are Lucky Life, Abigail Harm, and I Have Seen My Last Born.
Okay, so this
Yep.
guy that nobody's ever heard of. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so whatever. Maybe this will happen eventually, maybe not.
He's looked like Moody. Judging by I'm on IMDb, so I can see like the pictures, like the cover shots. They look very what do you call it? Indie film, but like serious indie film. Like, yeah.
Yeah, that seems to be kind of his shtick, which is about as far as you can get from J.J. Abrams, who's I think still producing it.
Yeah, which is weird. So we have this director. He might be a very, very good director, but he's got like looks like the majority of his catalog are like thoughtful, family oriented, like documentary-esque indie film portraits of places and people kind of thing.
But by the way,
that doesn't sound too
right. I think that would fit if he ends up with it and can do a decent job. By the way, for those who forgot, Mark Webb was last reported to be directing it. So yeah, who knows whether or not this guy will end up directing it, if anyone does.
I'll do it.
Mark Webb is
Hear
kind
that,
of
JJ?
an interesting director because he's got like Spider-Man movies and then like more indie stuff and then like 1,000 music videos. But he's not involved anymore. Okay, so that's that thing that may or may not ever happen. So then my last piece of news is for my anime of the year 2020, which will start like 3 weeks before the end of 2020. And that is because Attack on Titan, the final season, which was originally scheduled for a fall 2020 release before all of this shit went down, and then had its release date taken off of the website, has been confirmed to start on December 7th, which is a weird time for an anime to start. It doesn't really fit into a season. I guess it's more that it's a month early for being winter 2021 than it is 2 months late for being fall 2020. But either way, it's coming out starting this year for whatever reason. And I hope it's good.
Yeah, I'm a little worried, but I'm trying to keep my head up.
I'm trying to be optimistic about this, cautiously optimistic. And Crunchyroll and
what makes you so cautious about it? I don't know. I haven't really followed the show. Is it just like because of a change in studio?
Yeah, you probably weren't on the episode where where I went through my giant list of thoughts about the new studio and staff that's basically completely replacing the old one.
I just don't
get
it.
It's weird.
It's really confusing.
Yeah, after everything was so consistent up until the final season, and then you change everything.
Like consistent and super popular, and like it just got off its best season, and they're just like,
I mean, it was weird enough that considering how popular the first season was, like way beyond what anything else could hope to live up to, that they waited 4 years for a second one, even though the second one was only one core. Like, that was super weird, and it seems like they kind of dropped the ball on, cashing in on that lightning in a bottle. The Strike While the Iron's Hot, they did not. And then, yeah, this, I don't know exactly why it's happening, if Wit just wanted to move on or what, but it's very weird that it happened, because even if a studio changes, you don't have to replace everyone. Yeah.
Well,
the same feeling.
All expectations.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's like the same feeling whenever a sports team brings in a new head coach or whatever, and then they clean the entire house regardless of how good anyone was at their individual position.
Yep.
It's just like, yeah, I'm bringing in my guys though.
Like, why?
Yeah.
It's working.
Yeah, get rid of the ones you don't want because they're bad, but keep the ones that are good. It's like, nope, gotta bring in my guys.
Yeah, it might just be that.
Starting over.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not, like I said last time, I'm not worried that it's going to be like One Punch Man level of quality drop. But again, just after how high that last season reached, why would you ever break from that?
Yeah. Even, I mean, at this point, it could still be a really good show, but just like looking different will be enough to make me feel weird, because Attack on Titan like has one of the most unique aesthetics out of any show that I've seen. And for someone else to just suddenly have to do that, it makes me skeptical.
And like, so as I discussed on the previous one where we talked about this, it's basically the whole team behind the Dorohedoro anime, which is concerning on paper, because that was very heavy in CG that I think largely didn't look very good, especially in character facial animation. This fortunately had a trailer drop at the same time as the announcement of the studio and staff and everything. Very extensive trailer that gave a lot of hope for them being well into the production process. Yeah. And also that it would look generally like the Wit Studio stuff did. However, it was later confirmed that the director of that trailer was not actually the director of the series. So it doesn't necessarily give you as good of an impression of what it's going to be like in the end if the staff for the trailer was totally different from the actual staff that's going to be working on the series. So I don't know. I don't know what to think. I'm surprised that it's still starting by the end of the year. But there really couldn't be anything that I'm looking forward to more at this point, and also more concerned about because of that. So it has a pretty good chance of being my technically anime of the year, despite the fact that only like 3 or 4 episodes will air this year. But since it started in 2020, it's a 2020 anime.
It's been a
weird year. It's a very weird year, which is, I guess, the only reason why an anime will just start on December 7th. But yeah, even then, it might still be a disappointment, even if it's my anime of the year, because there hasn't been that much this year that I've been that into.
All right. Well, that does it for the podcast. No,
I mean, we are kind of at our usual stopping time.
We're basically at our usual stopping time, yeah. Well, we can do anime wrap up for the season next week.
If you want to do another season or another episode next week, sure.
Yeah, I'm down. It'll probably be a shorter episode since I've watched like 6 shows this season after all the drops, but
I mean that's fine. We can discuss what's coming up for the fall season too. Just
and like
do more of that because I didn't watch a single thing this
I didn't either, so
I like 2 shows a lot this season.
I still had 10 shows. One thing about this season, which I wasn't quite sure about going in, it did every show I was watching did last through the entire season. Kingdom still hasn't come back after like 6 months. No sign of that. But everything that was airing at the beginning of the season is still airing or completed. So that was nice compared to last season where I was whittled down to 6 shows, and one of the 6 I regretted watching.
Which
The
one was
one I
that again?
regretted watching. Sing Yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, okay.
I'm mad again. I finally like stopped thinking about that, and now it's back.
That's right. The last time
We had talked about it. DJ wasn't on the episode, so
Yeah,
Couldn't.
I think I talked about it with Kestrel after that, but I was so
Yeah, that was the last time
furious.
DJ and Kane were both on an episode. It was 3 months ago.
Yeah, unfortunately, at least
Jesus.
DJ, you weren't the only one furious.
Yeah.
There were lots of people angry.
Yeah, I don't think anybody was
Right?
like, "What a great ending."
And like they had like 20 years to prepare
Yeah.
that ending. The manga is really old.
Ugh.
How do you fuck that up?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Fortunately, I think after my initial drops this season, everything that I stuck with was like, yeah, that was alright.
Yeah, I'm the same way, but I dropped several shows, so.
Well, who's got recommendations then?
Alright, let me dig up some recommendations for the past several weeks and upcoming several weeks.
Have I recommended Shirobako on Blu-ray already? I feel like I might have.
Maybe.
If not, I recommend Shirobako on Blu-ray, which comes out next month on October 13th.
Now with a dub.
Yes, a very extensive dub. I was kind of hoping they'd have a different actor for every single character.
Yeah. I
They
mean,
didn't.
Sentai has actors playing multiple roles when there are like 5 characters. This show has like 100 characters.
I wish
a
the dub
recommendation
was,
and
like,
an anti-recommendation.
What are you saying, DJ?
So,
I was gonna say I wish the dub was like several months later, so I could have tried to squeeze my way in there.
yeah, so I can do a little of both. I can make a recommendation and then I can do an anti-recommendation
Okay.
at the same time, or at least a case-based
I wonder
anti-recommendation.
if that's the same as one of my recommendations.
Oh, we'll see, won't we? So I'm going to recommend pre-ordering Akira on 4K because that's going to be great, and I recommend to not buy Ghost in the Shell on 4K.
So that was going to be one of my recommendations.
Mainly because the soundtrack fuck up, and I say it's a case based because if you already own like the 25th anniversary Blu-ray, that's still a great copy, and I guess just look at some reviews and some screenshots because they did make some changes to the color palette and some DNR and some other stuff in this 4K release that it still looks fine, but it's not the same. So, and I'll disclose that the Akira 4K is actually the same. There are a lot of people who don't like the Akira 4K either because there's some hefty usage of the DNR and not a lot of usage of HDR in it. So it'll have to be kind of like, I'd recommend Akira on 4K, but I would recommend it with the caveat of maybe wait until you see some actual reviews and footage to make your decision, because Ghost in the Shell 4K looks fine. I don't think it has an incredible use of HDR. Like, you can see it in headlights and like lights of some signs and stuff, but it isn't like something revolutionary. And there's the fact that the soundtrack is fucked up. So if you are adamant about the like accuracy of what the movie should be as the directors and creators intended, this 4K release isn't that necessarily, but the steelbook from Blu-ray from Best Buy is like the best steelbook I've
Yep.
ever seen. So there's also that.
Alright, so let me say my 2 cents on this. Now, I know that you've looked into this a lot. You haven't actually watched it though, right? Oh, you have?
No, I have,
thought-
yeah.
I know you bought it, but
I
I thought
bought
you
it.
were waiting
I bought
to
it
get
'cause
everything set with
it
your
was on
house and
sale.
stuff. Oh, okay.
No, I just watched it.
So that is your actual opinion from
it's
the actual product. Okay.
Yeah, it's fine. I don't like what they did to the color palette in some of the scenes where they changed it from the cooler blue color, which made it feel more like dystopian and oppressive and made people look more pink and flesh tone, which would generally be more realistic, but I liked how it looked
Mm-hmm.
before. I guess it's just at the end of the day, that's kind of what it is. I liked how it looked before with the cooler color palette.
Yeah, so that's fair. Definitely look into reviews and screenshots and discussions to see if it's gonna be what you're looking for. But yeah, I will say the steelbook is amazing. The slipcover and what they do with that and the art of the steelbook is really creative. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
very
great
dope.
packaging design, and it's $20 maximum, which is insane for a 4K release and a steelbook, especially with that super slick slipcover. It is also, as far as I'm aware, the only anime with either Dolby Vision or Dolby Atmos, and it has both. My sound system is not Dolby Atmos and is in fact quite bad. So I certainly can't appreciate any of the enhancements they did to the sound, but I think it looks very good. I don't think they made the greatest use of HDR, and like with this stuff, the 4K doesn't matter that much. So it just looks like a good Blu-ray, I think. I'm fine with the colors. The soundtrack fuck up that Kane is talking about, you could forgive it if you're not like particular about certain things, because all it is every release of the dub of Ghost in the Shell has always had the Kenji Kawai track at the end replaced with a track by Passengers, which is a collaboration between U2 and Brian Eno, which is weird. But it kind of fits the tone and Kenji Kawai's style a little bit, so it's not as jarring as it sounds. That's been the ending song for every English dub release of the movie, every English track. On this, they replaced it on the Japanese track as well, which is shitty, but that's the only issue with the release, really. So, yeah, it's not that bad.
That kind of surprises me that that's your opinion, since your opinion of like EDs and OPs is always like watch them and listen to them all the time. And when I say I don't, you jump down my throat. And now I say I don't like that they changed this, and you're like,
no, I mean, I wish that it had the original, but if you watch Ghost in the Shell in English, you've been watching this ending for the past 25 years anyway. So, yeah, I don't think it's like, I just wanted to clarify, because the way that you portrayed this, you said like the soundtrack was super fucked up repeatedly, which makes it sound like the sound itself is bad in some way. It's just that they replaced.
Well, I've also heard reports that sound is missing, but I couldn't confirm that.
I did double
when I
check
watched
after
it.
I saw that tweet, and there is one line of background dialogue that's missing on the Japanese Atmos track. I think it's there on the 5.1 track, but it's missing from the Atmos track, which is weird. Yeah,
That's bizarre.
I'll have to test. I'll have to test that. I wasn't paying attention enough when I watched it to even notice it. I just saw that people were reporting that there was some other sound that was just straight up missing. But yeah, I'll have to test both of the tracks and see if that's the case or not.
Yeah, I think it's just Japanese Atmos. It's there in the dub. It's there in the 5.1 Japanese track. It's, the subtitles are there. And it is kind of easy to miss because it's just like a little background technobabble. But yeah, it's that is one legitimate area where the soundtrack is unfortunately fucked up, because like, obviously it's a new Atmos track, maybe the first for any anime. You'd think you'd want that pretty perfect, and the fact that it has that fuck up, and then also, and it's not in the dub version, but the dub for that movie isn't particularly good. So the fact that the Japanese version particularly has that problem is a bummer, as well as the ending song. Like, I don't want to downplay it. It fucking sucks that happened, and I wish it didn't. And it sucks that we can never just get like perfect releases of anything Ghost in the Shell for some reason. But one other thing I will say about this is they created a bunch of new extras for it, and some of them are pretty good. Like there's a commentary by a bunch of people involved in various aspects, and some like, you know, anime historians or something. I don't know what you call them, but people who have big brain thoughts about Ghost in the Shell and stuff. And so they have some decent content in there, and it was obviously recorded very recently because they're talking about, you know, being in lockdown at home because of the pandemic. So very, very new material there. And they have some video extras as well. One of them goes through a bunch of the same people and a few other people in like the anime fandom and industry, like Justin Sudeikis, a few other known entities. And then another interview with like this guy who did like an anime background art exhibition where he just goes into very detailed, very in-depth detail of the artwork of Ghost in the Shell and everyone involved and where it was all inspired from, how it came to be and everything. So that's pretty interesting if you're into that stuff. So I appreciate the new extras that they added for it. It's just, yeah, it's not perfect.
Yeah, I'll have to check those out. Yeah, but man, that steelbook really is cool, and it's also only like $2 more, so it's really hard to argue against the steelbook. Like in other cases with anime, it's like, oh, you can get the normal for $30, but the steelbook for $75
right.
or some horse shit. This is like $2.
And just for a 4K release for anime in general, like this is really cheap. I guess Cobra was pretty cheap too.
I think Cobra was like in the 20s somewhere, wasn't it? Yeah, and then Akira, I think, is gonna clock in at
but that's got
50,
like you know,
somewhere around there.
Chipboard box, art book, all that shit.
Yeah, it's got a lot of nice stuff in there. So yeah, I mean, it's Ghost in the Shell at the end of the day. So if you like it, go ahead and buy it. Like Kestrel's right. Like the stuff that is changed is a bummer and sucks, but it's not like it ruins it unless you are a super big stickler for like color palettes and things like that, which I know some people who are. So I guess just be aware and do a little research before buying.
Depends on where your priorities lie. I think for a lot of people, this is probably, you know, the best experience watching this film that you can get so far, unless they, you know, fix the things that they fucked up.
Man, if they do, I'm gonna be writing them a sternly worded email to replace my discs.
Don't you worry your little head. They will not fix it.
They will ignore the shit out of you.
Because like the standalone complex Blu-rays are garbage. Ghost in the Shell has had a lot of problems.
I've heard that, and they keep going on sale. Yeah, they keep going on sale, and I really want to buy them, but every time I read about them, it's like, no,
everything I hear,
these.
And I haven't done this, but everything I hear is buy the Korean Blu-rays.
Yeah, the really nice ones.
Yeah, so that's one steelbook. I feel like there are so many steelbooks coming out lately. I've just been recommending those constantly. So I may have recommended, I think maybe DJ recommended Weathering with You last time.
Weathering with You.
That's got a steelbook. Cowboy Bebop's got a steelbook. I got the other 3 limited edition Blu-ray releases from Funimation, and one of them includes a bunch of steelbooks, so I'm not getting this one. But there's that if you've missed all the other special editions of that. And Weathering with You I'll also be holding off on because it's getting its 4K super special collector's edition in a few months. Let's see, do I have any other recommendations for the next week or two? I guess that's kind of it. The Cobra TV series Blu-ray that I was talking about, that's coming out in just a few days. So I guess that's worth recommending.
I have a recommendation. Genshin Impact comes out on Sunday night. That's a free-to-play game. It's available on PS4, iOS, PC, and Android. It is been referred to before as Breath of the Waifu.
Nice.
So if you like gacha games where you roll for ladies and you like Breath of the Wild, that game is free. You should check it out.
Man, free with an
Right,
enormous
the biggest
asterisk.
Yeah.
Does anyone actually like gacha games? Like, is that a thing?
I
I
like
like
the
them.
Dragon Ball one. I have the Dragon Ball Z gacha game, and I've played it for like 5 years now.
I love
Okay.
gacha games. They're fun, but like the temptation. Gacha games
Yeah.
make you stronger if you're able to resist.
They really do. They can build up your psychological
They
constitution.
really do, man. They've helped me a lot.
Or they can break you.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, it's a tightrope act. It really is. Yeah, no, I like the Dragon Ball one. I mean, it's just bubble popping, so you just get a team of Dragon Ball characters and they can buff each other's stats, and then you just have to match colored bubbles. So it's not complex, but it's fun. It's a good time waster.
All right.
I don't know what the Fate one was like. Did that have an
Bad.
actual game involved? Like, was there an actual
it's
game
like a
involved? with that?
turn-based action game.
Okay, so there was a game. It wasn't just collecting cards like,
No,
tops.
there's actual gameplay, and like it's pretty hard at points too.
I guess that answers your
I guess
question,
so.
Castro.
I thought it was just a bad addiction everyone ended up with and can't break. Because I feel like
mean, it is
everything I
that.
hear about people who play
feel-
gacha games, they're just like, "Oh my god, yeah, it's rough, man."
A lot of them are like that, but games
They
like
can
Azur
be.
Lane, where like you can get everything without spending money, and like there's fun gameplay. Like Azur Lane's just actually a
Yeah.
really good game.
Yeah, and at this
Bang
point,
Dream too, rhythm games, like rhythm gacha games too.
the Dragon Ball one is really fleshed out too. Like, there's a bunch of different game modes, and they give out like the summoning stones like candy most of the time. So it's hard to have to spend money in that. I've spent very little, and I think for the time I've put in, I'm like, okay, they deserve like the $5 I've given them over the past 5 years. So yeah, some of them are good, but I'm sure a lot of them are just horseshit money grabs.
Yeah, this is not a horseshit money grab. This has 4 different dubs. You can choose which one you want to listen to. It's in Korean, English, Japanese, and Chinese. And they all sound good. So, yeah. I don't know. I'm very impressed. I've never seen a AAA beautiful gacha game before. It's very odd. Like, it shouldn't exist. I guess they have more money than God from their previous games. So
Really? I thought this company was like not that big.
they have like, I don't know, they have some absurd amount of people working on this game or something. So clearly they have money.
Interesting.
I guess their previous game did really well. I don't know.
It's is it a Chinese company? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Yeah, and there's also a complete collection of Bodacious Space Pirates. It's probably pretty cheap, so.
Is that show good? Well, we should probably just end the podcast. You can answer that outside of it, because I've always been intrigued by it.
I enjoyed it.
I did not.
Okay. Okay, good. That tracks.
That answers everything. I don't know. Kestrel, where can you find us?
You can find us wherever you find podcasts. Please subscribe, rate, and review. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Alexa, SoundCloud, fandompost.com. You can find us on Twitter and Facebook. Follow us there, share our stuff, get in contact with us, and you can also get in contact with us via email at fandompostradio@gmail.com. And everyone, please go listen to our last episode where I interview my favorite anime composer of all time, Yoshihisa Hirano. I'm really happy that I got to do that, so I would like everyone to go listen to that. And
That was
thanks.
awesome.
I actually have time to listen to it now, so I'm gonna do that
Nice.
this weekend.
Yeah,
Sorry.
bump them numbers up.
I'm happy for you, man.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And I'm on Twitter at FullMetalKyoma. I started trying to tweet stuff, but then I remembered that I don't have any friends, so they just go ignored.
Go follow Kestrel.
Read lots of tweets that no one has seen.
I've seen your
Probably
tweets,
not.
maybe. I don't know. I follow a lot of people on Twitter.
Yeah.
Everything goes by very fast. It's not
Speaking
really
of Twitter, you can follow me on Twitter at DJ No Style. I am not as active as I used to be.
Addendum. He's writing his game.
Yeah, I just use it for marketing now.
Makes sense.
And every now and then you'll post something that somebody has said on your Discord or whatever about breaking your.
I like retweeting the people that cry
Mhm.
when they read my stuff.
So weird.
Yeah, emotions are stupid.
No, I meant you writing this game. And
I mean, I agree. Emotions are stupid, but yeah.
you can find me on Twitter at SonicBug. I do tweet, and I finally remembered this week that it was Friday and retweeted my stuff on Friday like I'm supposed to do in my brain. Go listen to that last episode that I enjoyed
Yes,
editing
thank you,
very
Kate.
much.
I appreciate you.
I enjoyed hearing stuff that you'll never get to hear because it had to be cut out for reasons. Thanks for joining us. Tune in next week where we will discuss the summer anime season and what is coming up for the fall. Things are starting to get back on track production-wise.
Yeah, I mean, basically at this point, the paradigm is each season is half what was planned for that season and half what was planned for the previous season.
Fun.
And that still means there's 150 shows to watch.
Yeah, it's definitely bumping the numbers back up.
So, check that out, and thanks for
See ya.
listening.
See ya.
Adios. Goodbye.